become better after this experience, and we fully support you. Hopefully, our fans out there will watch their games, support them, pray for them, cheer for them, because kailangan nila yan, no?
Yeah. Welcome to this very special episode of 2OT presented by Smart. Simple, smart, game-changing, simple. Smart kami ni Magumarjon. And for today, we are joined by a very special guest, the President of the Samahang Basketball ng Pilipinas and the Governor of the Meralco Bolts in the PBA, Boss Al Panlilio. Boss Al, thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, Carlo, Magu. Thanks for having me. Good evening to all of you. Good evening.
Boss Al, right now, we know that our team, Gilas Pilipinas Men, is already in Manama, Bahrain. So far, all good news in terms of the testing of the protocols. But any news coming from there? May mga nabalita na po ba sa inyo? How is the team doing? How was their travel specifically?
Yeah, I actually messaged. We have a SBP Viber group now, which where of course everybody's almost there. Si Sandy Barrio, si Butch Antonio, si Gabby Cui, although Gabby's in Clark, no? Si Ryan Gregorio. I also have Jong there and Tab, no? And I asked them how they were. Ang unang sumagot si Jong kasi that was 5 a.m. Bahrain time when he messaged. He said everybody was fine. I think it took them about 10 hours to get to Bahrain, but everybody got tested as they landed. From landing up to the time that they got to the hotel, maybe about 2 hours. So the time that I guess Jong messaged me, he only had maybe 3 hours or less of sleep, no, that time, no. But I think everybody is positive. Everybody, everybody's safe. Everybody ready to go. Alam mo, mga bata, no. So I guess the energy, the passion of the youth. That Tab was saying that it's very inspiring, no, to see these young men really carry our flag in such a very unusual time, no, a very unusual period of having tournaments, and really the first time that FIBA is hosting some games again after the I guess the pandemic is still around, but I think we have been able to really start a competition again.
Boss, there's been so much confusion all week long. Specifically, yung Korea kung pupunta doon, yung kung Indonesia makakalaban natin. Earlier on today, nabalita na it's just going to be the 2 Thailand games. Is this ano namin sa'yo?
Yes, I think that's confirmed. Finally, I got word already a few days ago, no, but I was just waiting for Butch to get final confirmation from FIBA, obviously, because things change unless it's officially announced by FIBA. So there's an announcement that we will play Thailand, if I recall, 27th of November and 30th of November, 4 p.m. Bahrain time, which I think is about 8, if not 9 p.m. here, local time. So that's a confirmed schedule. But I guess coming to the tournament, maraming nangyari, no? A lot of things happened. Initially, we did ask permission from IATF, and very, very cooperative naman ang government. But at that time, the initial request was sometime in October, and we really got a recommendation of not to go at that time. And in fact, Bahrain at that time was also a no-fly country, I think, during the time, based on DFA regulation at that time. No? We did advise FIBA about that. Of course, again, it was really important for FIBA to restart the games because a lot of games have not been played, and they were really trying hard to really make it happen. They had to find countries who could host a bubble, and Bahrain being one of them, agreed to that. And of course, maraming gastos, no, as far as FIBA is concerned, just to commit to this. So they were really trying their very best to convince the countries to really participate. And MVP went on a Central Board meeting on November 6th, and he was able to talk to Secretary General Andreas of FIBA. And really, I think what happened was, in a way, Andreas, through also some actually communication to me to if we can try again to ask government. And I think at that time, medyo nagkaroon ng konting relaxation because non-essential travel was already allowed by our government. So NBP committed to Secretary Andreas to try again and talk to government about it. And luckily enough, I mean, Secretary Galvez and Secretary Vince Dizon, through their help, we wrote them to reconsider the position and if we can still go to Bahrain, and they replied a few days after and they allowed us to go. Basta we follow strict protocols on health. At the end of the day, we want to make sure that the team is secured and no potential health issues will happen. So the FIBA bubble naman is also very strict in terms of the health protocols. So I think there was alignment in terms of making sure that the players were secured and the bubble was secured. So since then we we have had a plan, but we didn't know whether we could go. But this time, at least we got the nod of government, and I'd like to thank IATF, led by Secretary Galvez and Secretary Dizon for making it happen for us.
Wasal, it could not have been easy processing everything all together because you were trying to get the commitments from the younger players. At the same time, you could not commit to a certain schedule to them because everything was depended on what the government allowed. In terms of just getting the commitment from the players without really knowing the schedule, was it easy? Was it difficult to make them say yes, boss?
I think early on we already started communicating with them because as early as June there was a FIBA Asia board meeting which I'm a member of. And there was already a discussion at that time, although there were two options. One option was to push on with the November window as planned, and the next option is to really move that to February. And then the February window will be moved to June, if not July, if I'm not mistaken. No? So and the recommendation of FIBA Asia at that time was to actually move the window to February. But I said that because the final decision would be coming on November 6th, the Central Board meeting I was talking about earlier, I did talk to sila, we were planning already just in case the November window would still happen. At the same time, we were also working with government whether they would allow us. So there were a lot of meetings and discussions that were happening. I was also talking to FIBA a couple of times with, I guess, Secretary General Andreas, because I'm also part of the advisory committee for FIBA esports. So I had an opportunity to talk to him, and during one of the calls, I asked for additional 5 minutes with him, and I had to explain what the position of government at that time. So, but we were planning this for a long time, and we had a pool of names already in mind. And as you know, yung nag-draft sa PBA, we have an agreement with the PBA naman that they will be with SBP until SBP will allow them to be released back to the PBA. So medyo na delay nga yun eh. We wanted to start that, but because of the pandemic, that had to be stopped. No, but we made sure that these young men would continue to be in shape during this lockdown, and I think some of them were. I'm sure iba yung fitness and yung playing basketball is very different. So that's a lot of challenges on that part. But yeah, there are a lot of conversations, and I think in terms of getting the commitment, wala namang. I think everybody wanted to be part of the pool. They wanted to actually represent the country, and again, hats off to these young men who are really committed to play for the country.
Boss, last week, Coach Ryan Gregorio was here on Tuti, and he explained to us why na kahit yung mga natanggal na team sa PBA, their players, hindi na rin isasali. Having this young core, this young Gilas squad, what does this do for the program? It's just finally jump-starting your 2023 program, di ba?
Yes. Well, it started off with a lot of discussion with the PBA, di ba? Na the past few years, we know naman the impact of the FIBA calendar on the PBA schedule. I mean, I think the last season, umabot ng 1 year yung conference, no? So it's a bit unfair also to the PBA, and I could see the impact on the PBA, but nevertheless, they were very committed to the national team program. So in a way, it was a discussion point with them that maybe we should create this pool also for long-term development, and at the same time, really hopefully not impact the PBA too much, especially for tournaments where we can sort of afford to make it developmental rather than, if it's a World Cup, then it's a different story where we might have to reassess. It's going to be a combination of this pool of young players with the veterans. Kasi importante yun that you also have players in the team that have had experience of international play. Kasi iba rin yun, ibang experience yun. And, I'm glad this, some of the members of this team played in the February window, so they have had their initial experience, and this Bahrain window will give them more experience. And I think it's really a long-term program we're looking at, and again, hopefully it can not have a much conflict with the PBA when the tournaments happen. And I think the bigger tournaments, the PBA naman always has committed to support the program. So maybe at the time, and once we know the calendars, the PBA will adjust its calendar so that some players of the PBA can be available for the international competition. In this window lang, I've been asked already why, some of the players are willing to be part of the team, PBA players who have left the bubble. Ako naman, I appreciate that, and we would like to thank the players who have committed to really play for the team, like sila CJ Perez, and I know Kiefer also sent word that he was willing to play. I think I'm cognizant of the fact that they've sacrificed a lot also for the PBA. They've been there by the time the 4 teams got eliminated initially, that's maybe 6 weeks already in the bubble. Then you're gonna ask him to enter another bubble and inspire. Then from there go straight to Bahrain. So you're looking at maybe 8 weeks, if not 9 weeks in the bubble, no? And I think it's too taxing for them physically and mentally. And I don't want them to be injured also because of that sacrifice. And at the same time sabi ko to really start this program that we long planned to really embark on, no? And maybe this is a time that we can try this young men. And then for the next window, I think February, walang PBA at that time, most probably. We can now, have a combination of veterans and this young crop of players.
Boss Al, it's like a throwback to the first version of Gilas, yung Smart Gilas, no? Because of the influx of young talent. But how excited are you to actually see some of the guys play and see which of them will be big parts of the program moving forward? Because from the first Gilas, nakita naman natin sila Mark Barroca was able to play in the World Cup. Marcio Lassiter was a huge part of different Philippine teams, Gilas Pilipinas teams. How excited are you personally to see which of these young talents can rise above the expectations and maybe become a bigger part of the future?
I'm very excited about this program. I mean, if you mentioned the names Barroca, Lassiter, Lots, sino pa ba nandun? Sila Japet,
Chris Yu, JV,
JB Casio. I mean, those people who went to that experience, when they came to the PBA and played in the PBA, they were not really considered as rookies.
Yeah.
Right? They were starting already on day one. I think most, if not all of them, were starters already because of that experience. Sa PBA, pag may rookie, sometimes, di ba, they don't get enough playing time unless you really, the level of sila Kiefer and all of that. But it takes time for a rookie when they enter the PBA to even get playing time in the team. But these players that you mentioned are already in the starting lineup and have the experience and the maturity as players to already start in a PBA team. So it's not, I think I'm excited because, it's only going to level up, I think, Philippine basketball, with this experience. And yes, I think there's a lot of pool of young men who, I'm excited to see who among these players will be there in 2023. And of course, there will be, competing slots with PBA veterans, but it will be nice to see really a split between these young boys and young men and some PBA veterans. Of course, PBA, you still need a Junmar, right? Because of his height and his experience, you maybe still need a Japet Aguilar or a Roger Pugoy, who has experience. No? But if these young guys can be part of the team, and you have 30 who's also trying to develop himself in Japan, and so very exciting for for 2023. So we're really looking long term. 2023 maybe as a first step. If you talk about Kwame, hopefully we can get him naturalized. He's not gonna be as mature yet in 2023, right? But maybe in 2027 he'll be a different player, you know. So compared to 2023, so we're really looking at this as a long-term program for the national team.
Stepping away from the national team or the national program, real quick, boss. How is the SBP dealing with this pandemic nationwide? Yung different regions, different regional directors. Alam natin, syempre, tayo mga Pilipino, miss na basketball. Last week nga, may kumalat pang fake news na pwede na raw magpaalam sa barangay chairman. We've clarified that every time matatanong tayo, hindi po totoo yun. Pero gano'n na po kasi kakate mag-basketball ulit ang mga Pilipino. How are your different regional directors doing? How is the SBP doing as a whole?
Totoo yan, no? I mean, Mago, I think you know, having no basketball for 6-7 months is very difficult for us Filipinos, no? But the SBP continued to be very busy. In fact, we just had a board meeting yesterday of the SBP, and I was telling Sani maybe at the end of the year we should document all the things that we've done in this very unusual year, this pandemic year, because we did a lot. As you know, for example, si Coach Jong was going around the country as head of the coaches commission to teach coaches nationwide. No, obviously he could not travel during this pandemic, but it didn't stop him from sharing his knowledge and sharing his skills. No, we had webinars that we developed so that remotely, virtually, coaches nationwide could still learn from him. We had a session with women's referees because we want to elevate also the women's in not only in basketball 5-on-5 and 3x3 but also refereeing. So we had I think a FIBA senior referee out of Australia that joined us in a webinar. As you know, we had esports, FIBA esports that we launched. And it was funny because my daughter was with me, and I watched all 5 games against Indonesia, and how glued I was on the TV because there was no basketball. It was close enough to a real game, right? Seeing somebody wearing the Pilipinas jersey and playing, and then you see this, you know, from half court making 3-point shots, right? So parang it was really, you know, people longing for basketball. FIBA also continued to be active. Of course, we had to make sure the protocols on health that really came from FIBA and was shared across all the federations globally to share that on how we could plan for restarting the games. No, and I think that was very helpful for us also. But yeah, I mean, you know, the regional directors continued to work with us. Of course, we had to make an effort also to provide some help to them during the pandemic. So our funding that we're supposed to go to some programs, we still continue to give it to them so that, I mean, just to help them during those most difficult times. You know? But yeah, we never stopped. I think technology was there to help us still continue our programs. Siyempre, iba rin yung virtual, no? But you know, instead of there's nothing, I mean, you know, a lot of things happened during that time.
Naging YouTuber bigla si Coach Jong eh.
Oo nga.
Had to shift to the times. Boss ASP, we know that you're very busy and that you have many roles. So for now, we'll ask you to take out the SBP cap and put on the Meralco cap.
Okay.
As we talk about,
I should change my jacket.
as we talk about the Meralco Bolts and their performance here inside the PBA bubble. Boss, it's been a long time coming. It has been a struggle for Meralco in the Philippine Cup.
Yes.
But so far, not only did you enter the playoffs, you're in the semifinals against Barangay Ginebra. Just how proud are you with how this team performed under the very different circumstances inside the PBA bubble?
No, I guess first of all, you know, I guess first time when the team was about to leave, I really had to thank them because, you know, it was really gonna be a big sacrifice for them to be in the bubble. You know, being away from your family, being away from your home, and, you know, hindi yung normal routine mo of preparing for games, and then you don't know the kind of food you're gonna eat in the bubble. It's a big sacrifice for them just to be there, no? and they left October 4, I think, or October 5. So it's over 1.5 months already that been away from family. So I had to thank them for that sacrifice. No? But at the same time, you also know that we didn't cut any of the salaries during the lockdown, and we still continue to pay them as we have committed. So they appreciated that, and I think it was time for them to. I guess for them it was kumbaga returning the favor not only to the company but to the fans.
Yeah.
I think having this bubble, and I think the PBA has done a good job having a bubble almost similar to the NBA bubble, and I think technology innovation again brought about this PBA bubble to happen. No? But I'm very proud of the team having reached not only the playoffs, as you mentioned, Carlo, but really making the semis. We have not entered the playoffs for 5 years, I think, in
the Philippine Cup, yeah.
And it's been always a pain every year in the past 5 years, and we would do well in import conferences, but really do poorly in all Filipino, and we were lucky to win 3 if not 4 games. No? So swerte na kami, baka manalo kami. We won 7 games. We were tied with a lot of teams. Quotient system. That's why we dropped to 5. Proud that we eliminated. Of course, heavily injury. Yung San Miguel team had a lot of injuries. So, but still, I think there's still a formidable team despite the injuries, and so we were lucky to beat them twice. I'm not happy that we're behind Ginebra now. I was telling the team, let's not be happy just reaching the semis, right?
Yeah.
It's an opportunity for us to even do better and not give up. I think we just have to keep on trying and playing the best we can, and staying together, playing as a team. And since you've sacrificed this much, I mean, make the most out of it already. I know they're trying their very best, and that's the only thing I can ask. No, is to try their very best and to stay together and compete every night. Kung matalo ka, but you're competing, I don't have any problems with that. Ayoko yung hindi tayo lumaban, di ba? So I want them to be really competing every night. So hopefully, we're down 1-2. Our backs are against the wall. Of course, one more loss for us, and we're out. So I mean, I think it's very clear to them. I don't need to message them. It's very clear to them what they need to do. They need to win the next 2 games if they want to get to the finals. But yeah,
actually,
I'm very proud so far.
Actually, part of that was going to be my next question. Ganda ng pinakita nyo ng elims, but because of the quotient, twice to win disadvantage ng quarters, boss. Governor pala ngayon. Meralco muna. Governor Al. And then, of course, heavily decimated by injuries to San Miguel, you guys won twice there. Dito, ganun na naman. Twice to win disadvantage kayo just to get to the finals. I wanted to ask, Sir Al, where's your confidence level right now from management and ownership point of view? And please be as politically incorrect as possible.
Well, we just have to want it more. I think at the end of the day, I think we have to believe that we can beat Ginebra. Because if we cannot do that, then hindi pa nagja-jumble, talo na tayo, di ba? So I think we have. I guess we have the team that can beat them. We just have to want it more than they do. Of course, Ginebra is not an easy team to beat. We do Stanley Pringle there, of course. That's very difficult to stop. You have Japet, you have LA, you have Scotty. I think they're very good. They're very well, they're well coached by Tim Cohn. But we just have to be smarter. We just have to want it more. We just have to lay it all out on the court. And best effort, no? If we still fall short, ganun talaga. But we've got to believe that we can beat Ginebra. I think the advantage that we have now is wala yung crowd, no? So hopefully it levels up a bit on that one. But skills level, I would think, on paper, Ginebra is still a much better team than us. But basketball is a team game. So we have to play as a team. We have to compete. We just have to want it more than Ginebra.
Magu, from management and ownership side, as you said, no, we've seen how it works here inside the PBA bubble, and Meralco really did everything that they could to support the players. I believe, boss, you have an extra room here that takes care of your players for extra physical conditioning, for therapy. Kasi nag-rent pa sila ng isang extra na room just to get additional weights other than the time that the team gets in the gym.
We also know that there were 12 teams trying to use the same facilities. In fact, we wanted sana other courts to practice on initially. Of course, very limited yung time. I think there was the initial part of the bubble, 1 hour practice periods lang sila. Imagine practicing only 1 hour after being out for 8 months, and then you're gonna play in 2 weeks. Di ba? Talagang grabe yung pressure din dun sa team, to shape up as soon as possible. And as you can see, and not only true for Morocco, I guess most of the teams, the initial games, you could see people were not fit in a way physically, but not game shape, di ba? Ang daming rustiness, ang daming errors. But at the same time, now also nakikita ko, I don't know what the stats are, Carl and Magu, but I think offense is starting to be more difficult now. So it's starting to become a very defensive game, no? Kasi maybe the legs are, you've been playing before eliminations every other day, and some days every day, 4 games a day, di ba? So nakakapagod, no? And again, it's a sacrifice among among all these PBA players. No? But when they were entering the bubble, aside from saying thank you to them, the other thing to me was it's not really gonna be more. It's not physical. Of course, you will have to have your fitness there, but it will be more a mental challenge. It's not gonna be easy, but you have to be mentally tough in terms of what you will embark on. And here we are. Back to back, we need to win 2 games. Again, it's going to be all mental. The X and O's are there. I think we know how Inebra plays. They know how we play. It's really going to be more of a mental game now. No, who would want it more? And again, alam mong magiging struggle. So you just have to. I told them, mentally this will be tough, and you have to. Prepare yourselves. It's not going to be an easy PBA bubble that you're embarking on.
Pati nga yung kabila, boss, yung TNT Phoenix, nag-slow down na rin yung scoring, like you were mentioning, di ba? Because of all the factors.
Teams,
pero Carlo, natatakam ako. Ngayon lang natin nakasama si Boss Al dito sa 2OT. I just wanted to ask, outside of anybody from the Meralco Bolts, who has impressed you the most? Sino tingin mo favorite na bubble MVP or PBA MVP for the season? Di pwede Newsam, boss.
well, of course, Newsam is one of them. He's a core player of Meralco. I think Bobby Ray Parks has been very consistent. I think he's shown the tenacity both on offensive and, I guess, defensive play. No, he can score a lot if he needs to, but more importantly, I think he defends, he rebounds a lot. No, and very consistent, very focused. Si Bobby Ray, and I'm happy to see that. You have all these negative things about Bobby Ray, but he's shown me a lot during the bubble. Si Matthew Wright has been very consistent. So he's also performed very well. And of course, Stanley Pringle. I think these are the players that have really performed well in the bubble, no? and that's why all 4 are still playing today. Diba? All their teams are still playing. So, but again, it just shows you marami ring magaling talaga sa PBA, and you have seen people step up during the most trying situations, and again, it's the grit that you see these players showing every night.
And I'm sure, boss, you're also proud to a certain degree because the names that you mentioned, Stanley, Matthew, Parks, even Pugoy and Calvin, they've all played for Gilas. Nakapaglaro na for the national team. So these are willing players for the national team.
Yeah, I think again it's back in some of the meetings at the PBA, there were discussions na siyempre where, these are the best players in the Philippines, right? But if you compete internationally and you start benchmarking yourselves, and that's the only way you become better, di ba?
Yeah.
you could still see medyo malayo tayo sa ibang teams, di ba? I mean, okay, because of the height and everything, but I think that's the competition out there. So I think we have to level up to them, not immediately in time, but because of that experience among these players that you mentioned, and everybody who've done the jersey and have experienced the kind of competition, they have become better players.
Mm-hmm.
And when they come back, it only makes the PBA better,
Yeah.
because the level of play has also increased, no? And it's only good for Philippine basketball at the end of the day.
Bago yung perfect example dyan was how Roger Pogoy became a fan of Bogdanovic after niya makalaban, di ba? And then he started following his career. Tapos
He started calling himself Pogdanovic.
I mean Pogoy now, if you see, the shots he's making, wow. I mean, they're really out there, right? I mean, he's floating toward the right, to the left, pero pasok pa rin eh, sok pa rin eh. And I think Pogoy then, I think one of the players who have shown resiliency and really just playing hard every night.
Boss Al, just one final question about the PBA. You've already said through the press conference that we had a couple of days ago that the Philippines offered FIBA to host not just our group, but a bigger group if needed for the Feb window of the FIBA Asia Cup qualifiers. And I just wanted to know, how open is the conversation between the SBP and the PBA in terms of using the learnings that they've developed, that they've acquired through hosting the PBA Bubble to help us host a possible window come Feb?
Carlo, we're very aligned. In fact, I also had to push PB5 and Signal to do it better, no? Like the NBA bubble, yung the LED screens, the MS Teams, the virtual fans, and I think we were aligned with Commissioner Willie Marshall from the start. And I did tell Willie that I want to document this experience so that when we propose it to FIBA, they can actually see what we've done and align also the protocols. They have their protocols, we have our protocols. I think we have no problem aligning those to ensure that, again, the safety of the players and the players of other countries that are coming over in February, if we are accepted as a host, no? And in fact, FIBA Asia reached out to us if they can live stream the PBA games in the PBA bubble, in which we allowed for free actually to be live streamed in the Middle East, no? Because si Sec Gen naman ng FIBA Asia, si Hagop wanted the Eastern Asian countries to the Middle East countries to really see naman the games here because they don't have much visibility on what's happening in Southeast Asia. No? So sabi ko, sure, no? And again, it's really a relationship also with FIBA that hopefully remains to be strong with them and trying to help out each other in terms of these programs. No? Kaya nga yung esports, we offered the bubble to be held in February here, at least our phase, and if need be, if they need another group to also be here, we're willing to. Kasi ano lang naman yun eh, that will be 8 teams, diba? Kung dalawang groups, well, we had 12 teams with the PBA, so I think kaya natin gawin yan. So I think they're aware of what we're doing here, and they've welcomed our proposal to host it. I think they will decide on it maybe after this window, but they're very much aware. Even Secretary General Andreas is aware that we've offered the Philippines for a bubble.
Thanks, boss. Now, moving on.
Sana matuloy, boss.
Oh, hopefully. Employment for everyone, including me and Magumas.
Sama kami, ha?
Now, moving on. We all know that this is a huge week for you because not only is Meralco, up in the trenches against Barangay Ginebra, there's in the sporting, scene in the Philippines, it's huge because we will have the upcoming POC elections. Boss, I just wanted to get your thoughts on it. I mean, did you ever imagine that at some point in your career you will be involved in something like running as first vice president of the POC, being involved in the politics side of sports?
Well, I'll answer the first one. I mean, no, I never thought about, being part of the POC. When I was younger, and I already had visibility of POC, but it was really more. It was just my interest in sports, no? And I think I've always been, I had a talk about 3 weeks ago. We had a company, but with delegates outside the company, our customers, and we had a digital convention, virtual digital convention that happened, and my speech revolved on sports being, what you learn from sports you can adapt in the corporate world. So I've always, believe in the values that I've learned from sports, and I've been able to apply that in the corporate world. Yung teamwork, you have to continue to excel, improve yourself. There are roles that you have to do. You have to collaborate. You have one game plan, one vision, one target. I mean, lahat yun, ganun din sa sports di ba? So parang parehong-pareho lang yung mga values and principles that you have learned from sports, no? But I just hope that the POC was less political, honestly, and really focused on, naawa ko sa mga atleta at the end of the day. It's really the athletes who sacrifice a lot of themselves, and it's really sad if we cannot support them in a big way. I don't know whether you remember this incident where we had two divers compete. I don't know what competition that was, and
Yeah.
they did a bad. It was terrible.
Yes.
The performance, but they were not to blame. In fact, you could hear them. I think they say nakakahiya. Baka sabihin, but I mean, they're not the ones to blame. It's really, what have we done to help them? In terms of training, in terms of support, in terms of competition. And I think at the end of the day, being in the POC, it's not to be served. You have to serve. Diba? We have to serve, especially the athletes. I think at the end of the day, doon ako naawa. How can we best help the athletes? At the end of the day, sports rallies the country together also. I mean, you see a Pacquiao fight or a Gilas game, where everybody's rallying together. I mean, you see the unity. I would tell this to Calvin before, no? When I would talk to him. Alam mo, Calvin, pagka kalabang ka, gusto kitang murahin di ba? PI, Calvin gusto kitang murahin. But if you're in the team, I want you in my team. Kasi ibang klase si Calvin, di ba? I mean, he's had a lot of impact with Phoenix, as you know, during this run, no? Since he came back. I think Phoenix is elevated also. That's why they're leading their semis series against TNT 2-1, and have an opportunity to close it out on Wednesday. But it's rallying people together, and it gives pride to and hope to our country and our youth especially. So to me, the athlete should be the focus of why we want to serve at the POC.
Carlo, yun yung talagang we need sportsmen to be in charge of sports. Yun yung importante dun, because guys like sila boss have a better understanding of what the athlete needs, di ba?
Yeah, I mean, in fact, when I talked to sila Richard, I was an athlete in my youth. I'm not a national team member, but you have Chito Leizaga. You have also, I think your next interviewer is Dr. George Canlas. They were national athletes, so they know what they need, and I think that will be very helpful for the POC board to understand. So that what is the best way for us to be able to help our athletes? That should be the primordial objective of the POC.
But was when the ticket was first announced, you and Mayor Richard Gomez were the first to be announced as first vice president and second vice president. But did it take a while to convince you to try and fill that role, or was it something that you agreed to immediately after you heard about the possibility?
Well, I've been sort of around it during the time that Chairman Ricky Vargas was the POC president. No? So he's my colleague, obviously, in PLDT. But I was also helping him out when he was in the POC. I would attend certain meetings. He, in fact, even appointed me parang parang head of the finance committee for a while at the POC. Just to coming in, we had to review the books and everything, and we had to make sure what was happening. And because we wanted to have a baseline when he entered the POC, so that malinis lahat ng libro, no? And leave it clean. As you know, we believe in governance because we believe in accountability, so we had to make sure that everything was done well. No? So I was involved. I was involved in certain meetings with. I wasn't part of the board, but there were times I was invited into the board. So I had some exposure to it. We also worked with President Bumble. We were supporting cycling also as MVP Sports Foundation. So when Pres Bumble asked me to join him, I just really wanted to support him. And also, of course, Mr. Ricky Vargas also said, kailangan ka rin ni Pres Bumble dyan to help him embark on these programs that we want to really help the athletes. No? So I sort of thought about it. I said, I don't really like the politics behind it, but at the end of the day, I think, if we can put the right team in place in the POC, we can do a lot. No? And really no politics, and really more just doing the right thing for the Filipino athlete.
Boss, yun nga, no, you talked about earlier how the country comes together when Pacquiao fights, when Gilas takes the floor anywhere in the world. And to some extent, pagka nag-Asian Games, SEA Games, and even yung Ascals, di ba? For a time, they were really a big thing. Yung identity na dinadala ng sports sa isang nation, pang nation building yan, di ba, sir? What is it that you really want to see for Philippine sports in the next few years?
Well, I want us to elevate our level of achievement internationally. We haven't won our first gold medal, and the MVP SF actually, the MVP Sports Foundation was started because we knew certain sports. Of course we cannot be the PSC or we cannot be the POC where we support all sports. Hindi namin kaya yun. So we were choosing sports where we had a chance to be competitive internationally. If we can get our first gold, that will be an achievement for us. No? That's why the things that we supported were boxing, taekwondo, eventually golf because it became an Olympic sport. You don't need the height in golf. You don't have a referee. It's really just a player, di ba? So maybe may pag-asa tayo dito. Badminton, and then of course football, basketball. Will we win the Olympic gold? Maybe not in our lifetime, but it's just really basketball is, a big sport in the Philippines. Everybody loves basketball, but if we can see ourselves developing every time, improving every time, I think that's already success for us. No? Kaya itong last World Cup natin, medyo a bit of a disappointment because we went down a bit, but hopefully we can do better in the next World Cup. So it's really making sure that we are able to elevate, we become better step by step, and we don't, we're not stagnant, or we don't even go back to a lower level in any sports that we want to support. So sana mag-elevate tayo. Sana, maski na unti-unti, we see improvement. And the only way we can do that is if we can, again, provide better facilities, better training, better competition. Similar to basketball. I mean, to our point earlier, players who have been involved in Gilas, when they come back to the PBA, are much better players. And that's the only way you become better. Benchmarking yourselves against the best in the world. That's the only way.
And it's great, boss, that you mentioned the MVP Sports Foundation because aside from the sports you mentioned, two of the medal hopefuls for the upcoming Tokyo Olympics are from skateboarding in Margie Didal and Kaloy Yulo from gymnastics, which you're also supporting.
Correct. I forgot Kaloy. No, Kaloy, as far back as almost 3 years ago, started supporting him. So we also knew that the only way he could be better is train in Japan, right? And that's where he's, hopefully he wins the gold talaga in the Olympics.
Yeah, hopefully. Syempre, aside from the boxers, Yumir Marshall already there, Irish Magno also qualified. So a lot of sports that the MVP SF is supporting are actually sending athletes into the Olympics. Boss Al, again, we thank you for your time. We know you're very busy. Thank you for
maraming salamat.
spending time to chat with us. But before we let you go, just a message to the Gilas players and all athletes in the Philippines in general. I know na hindi sila yung bumoboto to elect, the POC officials. But I'm sure that your message, the message of your campaign, is for the athletes and no one else.
Well, I guess first of all, dun sa mga Gilas players na nasa Bahrain today, again, thank you for the sacrifice that you are doing for the country. Enjoy this experience. Enjoy this moment. Learn, become better after this experience, and we fully support you. Hopefully, our fans out there will watch their games, support them, pray for them, cheer for them, because kailangan nila yan. No? And again, in general, for all athletes, firmly believe that officials of the POC we have to serve you. You don't serve us, we serve you. And I think at the end of the day, it's our job to help you become better. It's our job to make you excel, and hopefully, again, as I said, compete internationally and be successful, and bring pride to the country. Again, maraming salamat sa inyo lahat. Magu, Carlo, salamat.
Thank you for your time, boss.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. We will take a quick break here on 2OT, but when we come back, we will have someone who had played a very big role in the PBA bubble. And of course, he is also the president of the United Philippine Surfing Association, Dr. George Canlas. We will take a quick break. We will return with more on 2OT.